Well, hello and welcome to Circlemakers TV. It's 8 o'clock, it's Wednesday evening. I advertised it on live stream as being Thursday evening, so obviously there's going to be a load of people who are coming to watch tomorrow and there won't be any show. So, yes, because I just can't get my dates sorted out and straight. So, there we are, typical me. And yet they say he can make crop circles. I've never been able to get my times and dates quite straight. I don't know, I think I've got a sort of thing in my head that doesn't allow me to store that sort of information, because when you remember times and dates, then you actually have to do things like work, and my brain rebels against such concepts, so it just is incapable of storing correct information to do with work. So there's a couple of people in channel, which surprised me. Snuff, by the way, there you go, in case anybody's wondering. The snuff. What's it called? L260 mentholated snuff. And we've got a couple of people in channel, as I say, so let's say hello to them. We've got Darthy, Gonads, Pixie Dread, and the Lamp. So we've got 4 users, or 4 not users or abusers, 4 watchers, 4 listeners in channel. So hi. I'm going to keep this probably a fairly short show tonight, because after the mammoth rant that was the last show, I'm sure you're kind of not wanting it to go on quite that long tonight, but we shall see. Probably don't need the headphones, because I'm not actually doing much with the headphones at the moment. I've been trying to get the Skype thing set up, and if anybody wants to Skype in, then you can Skype in, but the only trouble is that there will be a 10-second delay in the audio. Oh my god, look at this. This is abysmal. Oh dear. My hair's sticking out. Oh well. I know. I'll keep the headphones on. Oh dear. Actually, speaking about hair, I was in the pub the other day, and this woman said to me, "Oh, I just wanted to let you know that, you know your hair?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Like, you know you've got it like dyed blonde and all that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "It really doesn't work for you, you know." I'm like, "Really? It doesn't work for me? Okay. Well, thanks for telling me. So I'll take it under advisement." But you know, what I found kind of funny was then her and his friend were sitting over in the corner, and they were sort of giggling and pointing out the fact that I had a double chin. Because I got a double chin. Because what it is, I tend to sit with my head back, and it does make me have a double chin like that. Yeah, and really I should have my head forward, which means I don't get it. But it's just one of these things that I tend to sort of, that's my head position. And therefore it does create a double chin. But no, not when I do that. When I'm on TV, I stick my neck forward. Obviously not Circlemakers TV, because this is the real thing. You don't want any fakery here, do you? You want the real stuff. So you get the double chin. And of course I am leaning back in the chair, so you tend to do it with that. And then if you lean up in the chair and lock it off, then the chances are you're going to sort of lean a little bit more forward. So anyway, this has nothing to do with crop circles whatsoever. And well, neither does much of this show tonight, I suppose. Well, it does, but, you know, I haven't got a guest, so it's going to be me, I'm afraid. So if you want to ask us any questions in the channel, I'm suggesting that we make this a questions night, whereby we go across the season and we talk about things, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that anybody has, and we'll make up the show from that. So, I'll start off then. I'll start the subjects off with something that I've been thinking about recently, and it's called the Silence Pact. Okay, but I suppose what we should do is also tell people the bollocks about the channel because it's important. So they say. So anyway, here we are. So we are available on Skype as CirclemakersTV, although I'm not sure it's going to be incredibly successful. I will be able to hear you, but I'm not sure you're going to be able to hear me. So, but you can Skype in if you wish. We'll just have to have one of these BBC quality 10-second delays whilst the stuff comes through. And I assume we're all coming through on audio for everybody. So you can add us with CirclemakesTV, and you can send us chat texts, although we won't read them. No, don't do that. Don't send us chat text in Skype. Send us them in your live stream window. Your live stream window is in your browser. It's this little white thing a bit further down than the picture that you're watching. And if the show is live, only if it's live. If it's not live, this doesn't work. But if the show is live, then you can chat to people who will be in there and they will respond to you. Also, if you wish to visit our website, it's www.circlemakerstv.org, and that's one word. So www.circlemakerstv.org. And there we go. That's that. So, right then, first topic. The Silence Pact. Does anybody out there believe, and I'd look for some feedback in the channel as well for this, does anybody believe that there is actually an organised pact of silence about who makes the crop circles with the researchers? Now, the reason I say this is because when I say silent circle or circle silent or, you know, silent circle, we all know that name because it's the name of the crop circle pub. Or, well, not pub, it used to be pub. It's now the village hall in Yatesbury, isn't it? But what does that term mean, silent circle? I mean, I've mused about this over the years. I mean, what does silent circle mean? Now, I have heard an explanation by Mallet, and I think it was something along the lines of, oh, you know, we should keep the silence in the circles, you know, keep them special or something like that. And I can't remember what it was, but whatever it was, I just thought, nah, that's not the real reason. There's a real reason for this, and you're not saying. And I think it's got something to do with the fact it's blatantly obvious, really, that what they don't want people talking about is the man-made aspect. So this has been bugging me for a while. Silent circles, shut the fuck up about who makes them, this sort of stuff, you know, is that the real meaning behind the cafe? Because certainly, I mean, I've been booted out of there. I know, ooh, look, oh, warning, alcohol, cheap alcohol. Is this something that they've decided to kind of encrypt into the name, the fact that they don't really want people talking about human circle making in this place? Now, I'm going to bring something up which talks a little bit about this, and I've got to say thanks to, let's just say somebody we shall call Bob. Okay, now this this little thingy here, oh, you can't see it very well. Not very good. Dare I stretch it? I can't even read it myself, actually. I wonder whether we can send it across to the other computer. It's possible, but unlikely. I can't even read it myself. Hang on, I'll have to send it across to the other computer. This is from the Sussex Circular, and it's relating to Andy Thomas, and he was talking just before my arrest, quite some time ago, talking about the fact that circle makers were known to the police and things like this. He was basically, I'm finding it very hard to multitask here, by the way. Which drive am I on? Let's just do this a second, get it done out of the way, because I'm going to cock up otherwise. Really professional here. As you can tell, I've totally prepared everything here tonight. Meant to copy these across to the other PC, but hey. Right, here we go. So this is, the other one is right. So So I have to create, oh God, aren't I really bad doing this? So it's show 32. Yes, we're actually on show 32, if you can believe that. Okay, so is this on this computer or is it not? So anyway, ask me some questions in channel, muse over some questions, and we've got Sonia in there now, so hello to Sonia as well. I assume this is public show 32. Right, come on then, let's do it. Where is it? This one. That's better. Now, if we go back to this one and we do our wonderful picture-in-picture bollocks mode, now I can zoom in, which is what I meant to do. Damn, I forgot to copy these across to the other computer. Shit, before the show. Right, Sussex Circler, and it basically says, Williams was always an attention seeker. Let's make this full screen. Here we go. Williams was always an attention seeker. And this is, I believe it's Andy Thomas writing this, and he says, when he doesn't get it, tantrums occur. Now, the thing is, why am I an attention seeker any different to Andy Thomas, who does lectures on crop circles? I mean, is not any form of public performance or lecturing or anything that, you know, feeds to a larger audience, is that not attention seeking? You know, you either want the attention for yourself or you want the attention for your work, but either way, I think that, you know, anyone that's in the public eye can be justifiably accused of being an attention seeker. And it says, when he doesn't get it, tantrums occur. But the point is, when I don't get attention, I've always got attention for most of the things I've done, so where are the tantrums? I don't understand. I mean, like, my first foray in the world was self-publishing a magazine, Truth Seekers Review. Then I was published in other magazines, which was requested of me, actually. I mean, I was actually asked to do it. Then I've been asked to go on TV programs and asked to go on the radio, you know, because people got to know my name, so therefore they would ask for me. So, you know, when you get called up and asked to go on something, like Mr. Thomas does, when you get asked to go and do a lecture, you know, how many lectures have I self-organised myself for people to come and listen to me? How many over the years? Ooh, probably about 2, actually, 2. And those were both circle-making lectures. And they were just basically to talk, you know, to offer people a free alternative for information to people that had gone to the very expensive conferences that were on in Devizes and Marlborough on crop circles. So, you know, 2 lectures I've done, and I offered them for free of charge. But this is attention seeking. Okay, whatever, Andy. But anyway, let's get back to his little thing and reanalyze it. So. I hope you can see this. I'll zoom in a little bit more for you, just to make it a bit easier. Here we go. And then it says, when he doesn't get it, tantrums occur. Well, I think the problem is that I'm always perceived as being aggressive, you know, by researchers, because what I'm doing is I'm challenging information that they've put out, and I'm asking them for the justification for, you know, where they get their ideas from. So, you know, at any time that you don't agree with a researcher, you then become, you know, like you're having a tantrum. They make out that you're getting aggressive, defensive, you know, all this sort of stuff. And it's like, well, okay, Circlemakers TV is a bit over the top, but most of the time over the years, my modus operandi has been to contact researchers and see, do they want to come out and see circles being made? Now, this is not real. I wouldn't say this is not a real sort of proof of tantrums. This is just proof of open and fair research techniques, which are to share your research with other people. I don't see this as tantrums. So, you know, in the first sentence now, we've got 2 mistruths. You know, I'm an attention seeker, and when I don't get it, tantrums occur. You know, and it's like I say, I've always had plenty of attention. I haven't had to try very hard to get the attention because people have been asking me to do stuff. So, and then it says, his targets have studiously ignored his efforts to block their enthusiasm for the circles. And now his wrath must be felt by all. Well, no, the point is that people like Michael Glickman, Andy Thomas, Francine Blake, Lucy Pringle, you all class yourselves as being the biggest and best researchers out there. If you are so, sort of public, then you should expect to be contacted in some way to do the research. It's not all about, I am right, I'm not talking to anybody, but that is exactly what's going on in the crop circle world. Michael Glickman is right, so he doesn't have to speak to anybody else. He doesn't have to answer himself to anybody else. He's just right. And yet Michael Glickman doesn't believe what Francine believes or Lucy believes. They all believe something different. And yet, all of them have chosen to ignore me in my attempts to communicate with them in order to have a debate and work out some of the areas that they're incorrect about the crop circle subject, and they refuse to do it. So, basically, where he says, doubtless this strange vendetta will continue, well, obviously getting people arrested, caused me to be a little bit upset and decide, well, you obviously don't want to listen, so therefore I will, put this information out publicly rather than privately. So if that's the way these people want to operate, sort of, they can put out information without any redress or any checks and balances or any sort of scientific research done on the work that they've done, then if that's the way they want to operate, then the only thing you can do is take it to the public. So anyway, it says he enjoys the controversy, the ego boost. Well, I do enjoy controversy, I must be honest, because at the end of the day, debate is interesting. I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying controversy, and debate is controversy, because you're going to get varying differences of opinion. Obviously then he goes on to say, the ego boost of being infamous. Well, who made me infamous? Who made me infamous? Would it perhaps be idiots like Michael Glickman, who got me arrested and thrust into the media limelight as being Mr. Circlemaker? Not that I've ever really been the biggest Circlemaker out there or the best Circlemaker out there. Not that necessarily those two things matter, because it's not always quantity of crop circles or necessarily mathematical quality of crop circles that matters. Sometimes it's artistic aesthetics. It can be, I believe circles can be nice because they just work. They don't have to be big and they don't have to be clever. They just have to be. So, but yes, saying that I enjoy the controversy and then the ego boost. Well, yeah, there is a slight ego boost, isn't there? One who gives lectures, talking again about attention seekings and ego boosts. See, it's okay for crop circle researchers to have egos, and it's okay for crop circle researchers to perhaps attention seek and wish their information to go out there to people. But when a circle maker goes out there and tries to get his information across to people, he's told he's an attention seeker and he's seeking ego boosts. Well, let's have a little look at this thingy again. Before I go on though, I will say this. I saw an amazing quote today on the Occupy Global Occupation, it's called, on livestream. It's actually a livestream channel if you go and have a look. I think it's called Global Revolution on livestream, and they've got live feeds from various Occupy London, Occupy New York, Occupy Los Angeles, all these different places, and they also show videos in between. And there was a very interesting professor who looks like he's come out of a university nearby and decided to give a lecture to the assembled Occupy crowd. And sitting next to him was a sort of, he actually had his cap and gown type stuff on. He was wearing his I'm a professor type gear, which looked a little bit weird, but still, at least to let you know who he was by just looking straight at him. So but sitting next to him was another guy, and apparently he was a doctor, but he didn't look like a doctor. He was wearing a Kango beret, But he had some really amazing things to say. And if you watch the Global Revolution thing, you'll probably see him. You'll definitely know these two guys because one's got the beret and one's got the cap and gown on. Bob something his name was, the professor, and David something I think was the doctor. Can't remember their second names. Anyway, the quote is, because I digress, he said in relation to governments and people's disliking the word socialism, he said it's perfectly fine for a government to build a bomber or a navy ship. That's fine for a government to do because it's in the interests of national security. He said, but if you build a school or a hospital, then that is socialism. So I thought that was very interesting because it summed it up very neatly. Is, people do not want government, was what he was saying. People do not want government to be in control of their lives. They want to feel like they're actually free, but they allow their taxpayers' money to go towards building navy ships and bombers. And that's national security. So, okay, we don't mind the government getting involved in things that will eventually possibly kill people. We don't mind them getting involved in that. But build a school or a fucking hospital, you fucking socialist motherfuckers, get back to Russia. Who the fuck do you think you are? And yet, building schools and hospitals would cost a lot less than the military bomber and naval ships. But there we go. I just like that little quote. And it comes back a little bit to what we're talking about in this article because it does in some way. It sort of does. I can't see where the connection is now. But there we are. Let's just say it does. And maybe you'll have got it because I'm sort of running on empty here. Right. Witness his theatrical gestures when evicted from the Wiltshire conference. Right. Well, I didn't ask to be evicted. Okay, I didn't ask to be evicted. So therefore, somebody says to you, "Oi, you get out now," and it's like I paid my ticket. So therefore, I was going to finish my cup of tea before I fucking left the place. It's as simple as that. So my theatrics, because I refused to leave. I refused point blank to leave until I'd finished my tea. Really. Terrible theatrics, my God. Lucky I didn't have a piece of cake, then I'd have won a fucking Oscar, wouldn't I? Jesus. Anyway, his activities are now known to the police. Both his threatening communications. Threatening communications? What threatening communications? What? Are you talking about things where I say, look, I want to discuss crop circle making with you, because if I don't discuss it with you, then obviously I'm going to have to, reveal information which you might find upsetting because you haven't found it out off me beforehand. So that's about as threatening as it gets. Okay, threatening communications and having actually proven the authorship of at least one formation this summer. And it says the farmer has filed an official complaint. And it says, and his other claimed nocturnal pastimes. What claimed nocturnal pastimes? Do I do anything else nocturnally? I don't know. Apart from sitting in the room watching movies? Not really. Meanwhile, tales of drug abuse, excessive drinking, ego expansions, and bad personal behaviour in and around the barge among some of the characters which inhabit it all add to the general air of ugly decadence which has descended this season. Ugly decadence. Decadence, that's a term used to sort of describe society, isn't it? When it's, when it's too rich and doing too well for itself, everyone sort of flamboyantly kind of spending money and lazing around and sunning themselves and, sort of decadence. I thought that was what that means. I mean, what does that have to do with people turning up at the pub and camping alongside circle researchers who are doing exactly the same fucking thing? Going in the pub, eat a meal, have a pint, go and have a look at a crop circle, and then you've got Circlemakers. Go to the pub, go and have a pint, go make a crop circle, you know, and probably both researcher and circle makers maybe take drugs. Who knows? So hang on a second. It's like everything I've read in this fucking article so far has just basically said, well, everything Williams does is just shit. But we're something different. We're a different breed, you know. But Williams, every time Williams does it, Williams is a shit. So it's like, okay. Anyway. And it says, there has been, and this is the point, this is where I wanted to bring you to, because this is the important bit. It says, there has been open talk from better-hearted croppies about the need to find new gathering centres seeking some sort of cleansing. So we see down here. So let's just bring it up. So there we are. So there has been open, oh sorry, we're not on the thing now. Here we go. It's right at the bottom. So there we are. There has been, here we are, there has been open talk from the better-hearted croppies. Better-hearted croppies. See? Better-hearted. I got it. These people drive me fucking mad. Better-hearted croppies, i.e. ones that just agree with you. Yeah? So if you don't agree with Andy Thomas or the rest of the fucking knobs, I'm not going to go through their names, yeah? If you agree with these people, then you are better-hearted. If you disagree with them or have a different point of view, perhaps even believe that people make the circles, then you are not better-hearted, which means you are bad-hearted, which to me means evil or bad or nasty, you know. Then you are bad-hearted, a nasty person, horrible person, you know. And I'm like, hang on a minute. This is like, you know. So anyway, they need to find a new gathering centre to seek some sort of cleansing, you know. So this is like going back to Michael Glickman's talk of fucking, you know, the people who believe crop circles are made by humans are infected with a virus, yeah? And these places that have people in them that, you know, decadence, drug taking, talking about human circle making, and we need to wipe this clean and cleanse it, get rid of this and cleanse it. And this is where it comes back to my original point, which I'm going to see whether anybody's actually in. Oh, I'm going to see if anybody's actually asking any questions now. Yeah, somebody's saying Matt was blocked from one of my conventions, but I don't remember any tantrums. That's from GBZ. And I'm going to lean back. Why not? Have some of my fat. And look, we've got my Circlemakers t-shirt on tonight. Look, Circlemakers, we don't bite much. Yeah, I don't know if I've worn that on before, but anyway. And I like reclining chairs. They show off the fat much better. You know, whereas if you sit up straight, then you look thin. You know, if you lean towards the camera, even look, you know, you look really thin. Then look like a muscle man now. Yeah, it's all bollocks. The camera does lie, folks. The camera definitely lies. So no, I have my gut. So right, where are we? Let's have a look at what people have said so far. Now, if you want to get my attention with a question, if you write it in capital letters in the channel, and then we can pick those out a little bit easier. So, military police to report crop circles in 2012. Interesting point you make there, because I'll come back to this, but this is about the farmers cutting out this stuff. I've heard a report about that, but I'll come back to that in a second. But I don't know what Jimone means by military police to report circles in 2012, because I've always wondered why, considering the military helicopters that fly over the area actually have thermal imaging systems built into them. You have helicopter gunships flying over, which are probably seeing people quite clearly, because they can, like if you play the game or have a look at the demos for the game, what's it called? Call of Duty, is it? Modern Warfare? I was playing that yesterday actually, and they got an excellent sequence with thermal imaging where they're looking down at the ground, and like you're on a helicopter or a gunship of some description circling an area, and you're sort of picking off the targets, the people running around, and avoiding hitting the targets, which are the guys who've got strobes on them or something. They've got little infrared strobes. But the detail that these guys have got, what they can see at night from their equipment, when they show this stuff on television, it's always downgraded. The quality is very much downgraded for security reasons. So what they do is they provide low resolution copies, so that you can't see just how much detail there is in what they're actually looking at. But the equipment is a lot more high resolution than when you're actually there seeing the stuff. Live, it's very high resolution, and therefore, if they're flying overhead in their helicopters, you'd imagine if they see this sort of stuff, they would do something with it. But perhaps because they're military, they don't want to interface reporting this stuff, because then it would draw to light what are the military out doing there, looking at the countryside, and what people would start asking questions like, what, they've got cameras and they're looking at us at night when we're walking out in the countryside and making love on a hillside, and they're watching us with their cameras and their helicopters from 10 miles away. And it's like, yes, they are actually, because that's what they're capable of doing. So yes, it would be very interesting if the military police do get involved in 2012. So we'll have to see what they say about that. Anyway, what was it? And what a magazine it was. Sussex Circular magazine we're referring to, so I assume Jimone is talking about that as well. And Charlotte says, hi, Nigel Mortimer here. I agree, Andy Thomas is being naive. We all lecture to promote info. Attention seeking is not on the agenda. Okay, well, there you go. It doesn't really matter about our personal feelings on this stuff. At the end of the day, it is all about information. And Sonia says I need to oil my chair. You're right, actually. I was noticing that earlier on. Sorry, it must be annoying for you. I'll try not to do that too much. So, GBC says Andover, the Cricklade Theatre. Yes, I was kicked out of Andover Cricklade Theatre. Well, no, I wasn't kicked out. Sorry, they were trying to get me kicked out. It was Lucy Pringle, and Lucy Pringle said that she was going to not give her talk unless I was removed from the theatre. And then, thankfully, George Bishop intervened, and he basically talked to Lucy and said, listen, don't be so silly, you're going to let down your audience that have come to see you, and don't be affected by somebody like Matthew Williams. Otherwise, I suppose he might have said something, well, he's beaten you, so don't be like that, stand up to him and speak your piece. So I got to stay, but only just. So yeah, occupy everywhere. I think we would occupy everywhere if it weren't for the fact that most people have got jobs, and the rest haven't probably got enough to get to places where they can occupy. They've only got just about enough money to carry on where they are. But it is a nice idea in principle. I don't know if it's actually having as much of an effect as people would like it to, but I think it'll just keep going until it's burnt out. And I think that's the problem with this, is that with the Occupy Londons and all that, I'm actually really for them. But I know that all the politicians are just going, you think that's going to make any difference to us? We start motherfucking wars. We kill people. And you think a little bit of protesting, we're going to fucking worry about that, and we're going to listen to you. We didn't listen to you when you came in the millions to say don't fucking do the Iraq war. We didn't listen to you then. So, yeah, you want your little fucking, camp out, a couple of thousand people camping out in the park? Yeah, we'll see who's got more resolve, because we go home and sleep at night. and we sleep tight and we don't give a fuck. And that's the problem you've got to get over, is the fact that ultimately, you're going cap in hand to these wankers yet again. Please, sir, be nice to us. Please, sir, please don't be nasty to the planet. Please, sir, we demand that we are treated better. Well, you demand nothing because they ain't fucking listening, right? The only way to demand something is to take it from them, take the power from them and say, there, now we have it. You can fuck off, right? That's a demand, right? All this, we demand, yeah? You don't demand shit. They ain't listening, yeah? Anyway, so, let's have a look down the thing. Sounds like ethnic cleansing of certain crop circle makers, yeah, from the Sussex Circler thing, yeah. Cleansing, yes. It's a funny old word. It's a funny old world as well, but it's a funny old word, isn't it? Cleansing. So this is my point. Going back to the original point. It takes a long time. I'm like one of these fucking 7 series things on HBO, It's like we have a long arc that goes across the whole of the series, and in the end we do come back around. But yeah, here we go then. So the Silent Circle Pact, or the Circle Silence Pact. Is there actually some agreement which has been made amongst crop circle researchers, even though they know circles are made by people, to just not talk about it? I think there is. And I know that quite a few other people, sorry, I'm doing a squeaky chair again. I know that quite a few other people believe this as well, that there is actually a pact. And I've had information told to me in the past about Michael Glickman and Andy Thomas discussing, I think it was with Jürgen Kronig, and I'll double check this with him, but Jürgen Kronig was obviously a researcher. He's been on the show, and he was talking to all of these people. And when he said, I think that these circles are man-made, they said to him, you're losing your way. You're losing your way. And you should really think seriously about what you're saying before you excommunicate yourself. Yeah? Words to this effect. And it was put across in an almost sort of like, if you don't toe the line, you are not going to be part of the little club. So there is still time, they said. There is still time for you to toe the line, basically. And this is what he was told. And he said, shit, I don't like what I'm hearing here. This sounds bullshit. Like I'm being expected to kowtow down to these people who obviously want to tell it their way. And anyone that isn't prepared to come in line with that will be sort of pushed to the sidelines. And when they said sort of like words to the effect of excommunicated, self-excommunication, it's like, well, it wasn't going to be self-excommunication because it was going to be excommunication by them. And I was quite amazed by this statement. I probably got it quite wrong, and I'll have to get Jürgen to check what I'm saying and come back to the correct thing. But when you have something like the Silent Circle Cafe and you have like Charles Mallet, and he just doesn't seem willing really to fully embrace the concept that this stuff is made by people. And he's sort of quite probably the one of the most vocal, apart from sort of like the new Andrew Perker sort of revelations. He's actually sort of one of the more in there. He's inside the little sort of club, who actually says that some circles are man-made, and he seems to get away with this. And I've always wondered, well, how the hell does he get away with it then? If he's kind of right, still time excommunication says still time excommunication. And says sounds like something Simeon Hines said. And Sonia says a pact sounds like some arranged cult. Well, yeah, exactly. This is what I'm getting at. Has there been, or is there, agreements, gentlemanly agreements between crop circle researchers to just ignore circle makers, ignore the evidence, and pretend like it doesn't exist and tell a different story? Tell a different story. Now, the reason that this is why I showed the Sussex Circular piece, because in there it actually does specifically use the words, despite Williams's efforts to discuss this with us, he has been steadfastly ignored. You see. So it's obviously there is a policy in place. You see, he's not just talking about himself; he's talking about other researchers. They've got a pact in place to ignore people like me, ignore them, just pretend they don't exist. You see, and then there's going to be sanctions placed, obviously, on people that do talk to us or talk to me, because then they'll be also ignored. You see, and this is the flavour I seem to have got, and this is why, for me, I cannot, and it would take a lot for anyone to convince me of anything else beyond this. Silent circle means shut your fucking mouth. That's what it means. Yeah, silent circle means we want information about the circles kept silent. And I think it's as blunt as that. If you've actually got a brain that's capable of thinking in lateral terms rather than, the simple basic terms, if you've got a brain that can think that way, I think it's glaringly obvious what's being said. So, okay, Mad Hatter says, well, that depends on how you interpret it. And the lamp says, shoosh. Okay, and Sonia says, that's not correct, Matt. That doesn't mean that at all. It's about the space in the circle. Well, okay, like I said, you're not going to convince me easily. But, okay, fair enough. And Charlotte says, sounds like the typical mainstream media method. Ignore the truth and promote the opposite. Yes, absolutely. It's like the Occupy Wall Street thing, they'll just, the Wall Street bankers are just going to carry on doing what they're doing because they don't have to do anything different. And the governments are just going to carry on what they're doing because they don't have to do anything different. And what they'll do is they'll actually put loads and loads of money now into putting advertising campaigns and putting programs on television that will actually say that everything the promoters, everything the protesters have done is a waste of time. And here are all these bollocks reasons why, you see. So ultimately, everybody that wants to get information about this sort of stuff, most of the clever people will turn to the internet because they'll get unfiltered information. So they'll get probably nearer to the truth. But, let's face it, probably 99%, which is the 99% they're talking about being us, 99% of people probably just will get their information from television, which is of course controlled. So therefore, people aren't really going to learn much about what any of it's about in the first place. But there we are. Sonia says they just don't talk about it. They just don't talk about it, Matt. So I'm assuming, And Gonad says, but it's bad for business. Yes, of course it is. It's very bad for business. Yeah. So there we go. Right, here we go. Mad Hatter says, silent circle. A circle that speaks no words but says so much. I think that's what Charles Mallet was going for. Well, of course, crop circles do speak to a lot of people in many different ways, and certainly there's about 1,000 different ways you can decode a circle that meets your happiness or delusions. It's kind of like maybe spot on, but I do see a lot of bollocks out there really with the way people decode stuff. Speaking of which, I have a I have a video which I was going to play you. So why don't we break it up for a minute, because I'm always told I talk too long, and break this up with a little video which is quite cheerful and is made by a guy called Zen Rabbit. So if you want to go on YouTube and do /ZenRabbit, you can have a look at his crop circle videos. But anyway, let's pop along and have a look at what he's got now. And this is quite a nice little video, lasts about 5 minutes, so time to make a cup of tea. No, watch the video. Hey, that was quite good, that. I like that. So Rob Buckle, that must be Zen Rabbit. And there's some interesting designs in there. Yes, I think we're going to see something about some of the designs that were in that video actually appearing on this show pretty soon, because I can't reveal what I got my hands on yet, but I've got my hands on some pretty good stuff, and we're going to put some videos on the show quite soon, which are going to kind of basically sew up and tie up a few loose ends on some of the circles that were out there last year. And yes, it's going to be an interesting show, that one, because we're going to bring into focus all the comments that the researchers that we know and love have said about said formations and why they're so wonderful and couldn't be made by people. And then we're going to show you some footage of them being made. That's going to be interesting. And you can actually tell from a distance, because this stuff has been shot with night vision equipment, and you can actually see the formation forming from a distance. And we're going to do a fair bit of that next year. But just to make the show a little bit controversial, because we always like to have a little bit of controversy in there, we've got some revelation stuff tonight that I can give you. Now, I was handed these in this envelope, look. There we are, Matt Williams, CMTV. It doesn't say who it's from. It doesn't, and there's nothing in here which relates to, it's not going to give away who the person is. But I've got some designs here, and I'm going to go through them with you. So there we are. These are actual designs which never went into the Circlemakers auction that we did. Remember we told you about the Circlemakers auction? This was found afterwards. So this is some stuff. So if anybody wants to have a little look, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan these in and then put the scans on Circlemakers TV website, so you'll be able to have a look at them in greater detail. So that was that formation. Basically, as you can see, it was based on an internal pentagram, and it then ended up being that with something different in the middle, so it was changed. This is quite often what happens, you know. So it was never intended to have that in the middle, and then it ended up being like that. So that just goes to show you, you know, how things change on paper to how they appear in the field. And this is one of the arms, and oh, it's the wrong way. One of the arms, I'm sure you'll recognise it from, and these are the measurements that were used by the Circle team. And basically it came out to be that. So you can see this is just one arm, an exploded view, an expanded view, so that there's more detail is visible. And it was just replicated, the same thing was replicated all the way around with what they call the Mayan, like a Mayan type innards. So, and there's the actual formation as it appeared in the field. So, then we've got part of a formation here with its, oh, there we are. And down the side you can see where it says number 1 is clockwise, number 4 is anti-clockwise. So you can see the different areas, how they've been filled, clockwise, anti-clockwise. So this is actual circle making designs seen for the very first time here on Circlemakers TV. So, and that's how it was meant to be, like that, and it ended up being like that instead. So not quite the same, because this one had 2 arms. Can you see? It was intended to be like this, 1, 2, like that, and it ended up just having this bit curved around, and then this bit deleted. So delete, 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 and it just like that around, jump, and it was intended to have a flower pattern. Okay, so it was meant to have that in there, and it didn't have that in the end. It just ended up being like that, which is still very nice, but it just goes to show you how these things actually change from their design stage to what actually ends up in the field. So concept work. There's that one, which again, that's upside down. So we've got some measurements there, and there we are, some measurements for you there. Now I can't guarantee that every single one of these was done with those measurements on the night, but I mean, all I'm saying is that I've been given these diagrams, and I've been told that I'll be able to auction these off if we do another Circlemakers auction for Sea Shepherd charity. So hopefully we'll do that next year. So, and hopefully by next year there'll be some more designs to throw into the mix. That would be nice, wouldn't it? So there you go. Right. Somebody says, Matt, keep your hands to yourself. I can't see your hands, Matt. Oh, okay. What's that then? I don't know. They can't see my hands. I don't know what you're on about there, but there we are. Anyway, this was the internal hidden geometry, as you can see in this one, and it ended up being like that. But basically, the hidden geometry that's in there is visible on this one, so you can see it. But it was basically a set of rings that corresponded to hidden inner geometry. So this is quite a famous one, quite simple concept but very striking. You know, one of my better liked ones. I like these sorts of 3D optical illusions. So what else? That's how it was initially designed, and then it ended up with the Mayan stuff around the outside. So like that. So there you go. That was the inner bit, and that was the outer bit. So what else have we got? This one. There we are, look, telling you the directions of the lay, the way it should go. And you've got your measurements on the side, 15 metre arcs, 19 times 135 metres. Okay, required 3 people to widen on the inside, it says, I believe. So I'm looking at there. And that one looked like that when it was finished. Very interesting. Okay, what else have we got? I think this might have been included in Circle School. This one. Is it included in the Circle School thing where we did the drawing thing? But it was this is the original, not the one that was drawn for Circle School. This is the one that was actually taken out into the field. So you basically have, it's quite big, so you have to sort of work with the two to see what you got. But I think all of these are photocopies, and the originals were destroyed because the person, the Circle Maker, is a little bit worried, you know, that he could end up being raided one day, and doesn't want any evidence around that would possibly get him in trouble. So, as you can see, this was intended. There you go. This was intended to be all the way around like that, but it ended up being like that. They didn't have them all the way around, you see. So there you go. Just goes to show you how things change on the night. Maybe the measurements didn't go down right, or maybe it just felt right to change it. I don't know if this one actually appeared even. I can't remember seeing this one, but you out there may know better. So there you go. And, oh, as he says, there you go, did this one appear? Yes, it obviously did, but again, not in the original form, slightly modified, you see? So you got that one there, oops, that one, and that's how it was originally intended. That's what I was going to say. This I didn't recognise, but that's how it ended up, slightly different. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that was Avebury as well, just by the tree in the background, but I could be wrong. Just recognising that tree as you do, a clump of trees, because it's a tumuli. This is an interesting one. This is an early. Must be an early idea for one that I think some of you have seen. I think this is an early concept work, early concept art for something that came a little bit later on. So, Forerunner. That's an exclusive for you. Oh no. Oh God, I'm such a bloody imbecile, aren't I? No, it did appear like that. It did appear like that. Oh, yeah, okay. I don't actually remember seeing that one. I don't know where that one came from, but I thought that was a Forerunner for Milk Hill then, but there we go. Then we've got this one, which I think was... I can't even remember now, I'm getting confused. Was this on Circle School? I seem to remember it. I think this was on Circle School. Or am I getting confused? This one was drawn out on Circle School. And then, right. I see what we got. This is the concept art for that is how it finally appeared, which is kind of interesting, isn't it? Because you know this one here is, of course, quite different to how it actually appeared over here. You know, you've lost the rounded arms on the edge; they become squared off. And that's I don't know why I'm getting confused by this one, having been on Circle School. I'm getting confused by something, but yeah, see how it's changed? It was actually ended up like that when it was done. So there you go. Just to kind of give you an insight into what really goes on. Ah, look. Now I remember this one. I believe this was Etchelhampton Hill, and it was massive, as I remember. This was a very large design. So there we go. But again, slightly different when it finishes up in the end, because there you go. This one is a bit fatter. Obviously the circles along the middle doing a bit more. You can see the idea, the concept idea was, let's do something like this across. By the time it's been designed and worked upon, it ends up in the field like that. So obviously this isn't a finished diagram that would get taken out into the field, but there we go. There we go. I seem to remember this one with the thin radial lines coming out. Obviously a laser being employed there. So very interesting. And that's the final design. There we go. So we're getting near the end now. I've got a few more to show you, but that's let's go in a little bit closer on the detail there. So, and it ended up looking like that. Now, actually, I think it was meant to have all these radiating circles going out, and I don't believe the finished version did, which would have probably been massive if it had, because it would have been a huge radius, huge diameter. So there you go. Oops. So, this is just talking about the Secrets of the Fields, Freddie Silver's book. It's interesting that in the book was this diagram, and if you, where my finger is tapping now, that diagram there, and strangely enough, that was actually then done into a crop circle, which was near Bishop's Cannings. So it's interesting how things that have appeared in books, so obviously are potentially something that has been thought out of the mind of a person, you know, to describe a concept, end up in the fields. And then people say, oh yes, people can't do these things. And it's like, well, where did they come from in the first place? So there you go. There's a couple of designs going back in the little folder. and will be auctioned when we get round to doing another auction for Sea Shepherd. So there we go. Yeah, so let's have a look at Charlotte says, do you think that all crop circles are man-made? Well, I've always said that there's a few that appear every year that I don't know who makes them. My feeling is that generally, if you give it enough time, you'll probably meet the person that made most of these. There are some out there that have never been claimed. For instance, the Led Zeppelin. That's still one that people still talk about a lot and wonder where it came from. That was in the Eastfield, and there's a lot of controversy over that one. Some people think it was a bunch of farmers. Some people think it was artists connected with the band Led Zeppelin. You know, basically that one has never been claimed. But on the front of Freddie Silver's book was the Barbary Castle, which for many years nobody knew who'd created that, and it was because they weren't a circle maker. They weren't in with the circle maker crowd and weren't sharing information. And I actually met this person, and I discussed it in one of the shows actually about that one being man-made. So yes, these things, eh? Right, well, have we got any questions? Let's have a look. So Matt, keep your hands to yourself. I can't see your hands. Right, okay, we've had that bit. It says, can I share a funny song? Certainly. Yeah, you can share a funny song. Let's have a look what Sonia's telling us to have a look at then. Oh. Hopefully it'll come.
My life is so successful. I got everything a man could ever need.
I think I've seen this actually.
I got $1,000 haircut, and I even have a talk show on TV.
You're not looking at the picture here. There you go. Sorry.
And I know I should be happy, but instead there's a question I can't get out of my head. What's the meaning of Stonehenge? It's killing me that no one knows why it was built 5,000 years ago. Why did they build the Stonehenge? So high, completely without the technology. We have to die. When I'm in Pacalabienos, calamari and prosciutto, I'm the king. My wife applauds me in the kitchen when I tell her all I bought is from the local store. When the kids have gone to bed, we're all alone. She gives me a smile, then she plays with my balls. But all I think of is Stonehenge. I think about it when I dream. The biggest heads that I have ever seen. What's the purpose of Stonehenge? Giant granite birthday cake or a prison far too easy to escape. Stonehenge, Stonehenge, that's a to do. Just say, dude, let's build a henge or two. I would give anything to know about the Stonehenge. Yeah, I would give all I had to give. Would you give them your car? Are you kidding me? Of course I would have given the car. What car do you drive? Drive a Civic, drive a Civic, drive a Civic. A car you can't trust. Never mind the car, let's talk about the henge. What henge is that again? It's the Stonehenge, it's the Stonehenge. God, it is the greatest henge of all. What's the meaning of Stonehenge?
There you go. What's the meaning of Stonehenge? I like the way they say, and then the wife plays with my balls, but all I can think of is Stonehenge. I think there's a lot of crop circle researchers out there like that, isn't there? You know, it's like all they can fucking think about is crop circles. Fuck me. Yes. Live, eat, breathe, and shag crop circles. Yeah. So, yes, my chat channel should be reacting to that now. Sonia says thanks. Yeah, I'll probably get my video yanked off YouTube for putting that in, but there we are. We will have to see. Actually, when I watched that first off, I thought, fuck me, who's written such a cheesy song about Stonehenge? Because it starts off with the first minute or so, and he's not really giving away that he's taking the piss. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go, some fucking like Holland nutters now, like going like, I love the Stonehenge, it is wonderful, and it's like, I'm like, oh no, you know. And then of course the penny drops. It's a piss take. But I thought it was deadly serious to start off with, and I thought, you've got to be kidding me. So yeah, Sonia, I think she says, me too. She got hoodwinked into that one. So yeah, right. What have we got then? Check the track. It's a classic. Okay. Why are the circles always slightly different from the designs? Well, it depends. I mean, some of these designs, what I was told, this particular person has done the designs, then taken copies of them and gave them to a person to look after, forgot they gave them to the person, and then is basically adapted and modified, and the design has moved on, and they've taken the actual finished design out into the field. But the original kind of inception ideas were still with the person looking after them for safekeeping. Sorry, chair. I will have to sort this out. So he left it with this person, and then basically the whole lot was forgotten about. He destroyed his own designs for safety, and then there it goes again, chair. He destroyed his own designs, but then this person said, oh, what do you want to do with these? And said, look, you know, we've got your designs. So yes, it was a case of sort of finding them and saying, oh, well, as long as I don't have them in the house, it's safe enough for me to hand them over to Matt. But there we are. Oh God, there's more people sending me links now. Okay, so I don't know. Do they want me to look at more videos? This is going to be the bloody video show otherwise. Let's have a little look what this one is then. Worst music video ever. Oh, I think I'll watch that one later. I'll save that for myself. But yeah, I'm not going to go sort of delving into the shittest music videos. I think Sonia's was okay because at least it was dealing with something that we kind of have an interest in, megaliths and weird stuff. So right, well, the board auctions. We sold a board, and it went for quite a lot of money actually. I think it went for about was it about 90 quid? The board went for 90 quid. And it was a real board. It had been used for making many crop circles, but when we auctioned this for Sea Shepherd, the we were all surprised, like this board, which didn't have anything really, to it. It was just a plank of wood with some screw holes in the end and some rope attached to it. And then we got the Circlemakers to sign it. So we got some signatures on it. So that made it kind of special as well. And it went for 90 quid. And I thought, well, if we ever do another auction, sorry, squeaky squeaks, if we ever do another auction, then that might be good for Sea Shepherd. So, maybe we should look into this again, and I'll have to get another board, but we'll make a special board this time. So what I've actually done is I made up this board we got here. I'll have to come out wide angle. So here we are, Circlemakers board. Okay, now you can see there's a lot of names on this one. Okay, so this one's a slightly posher board, but whereas the other one was a real one that's been used to make circles, as you can see, this is a pristine board that has not been used to make circles. So it's very, very clean. But basically, as you can see, now we've got some signatures here. Look, we've got Circlemaker signatures, but we've got Dave Brock from Hawkwind, very famous musician from Hawkwind. Hawkwind were the influence behind the Sex Pistols and a lot of other famous bands. Hawkwind have been around for a long time, and psychedelic sort of hippie band. Really good music. I love them, absolutely superb. And I got to meet them at the Sea Shepherd. I don't know how I haven't talked about this, have I, on the show? Shit, I don't think I have. Because I went up to, after I gave the money from the auction to the Sea Shepherd charity, I got invited to come up to the Sea Shepherd when they docked in. I'm just looking at the chat channel, sorry. When they came to London, they were trying to stop the what's it called, the grind, which is this horrible thing whereby people kill dolphins and whales on the beaches in the Faroe Islands, and they basically corral them, move them into the shore, and then people go out and hack them to death with various sharp or not so sharp instruments, and it's really horrendous sort of thing, which is terrible. But anyway, Sea Shepherd came to the UK and got its boat seized by the British authorities because of a pending case which had gone on with a Maltese company that was saying that they'd cut their nets, their bluefin tuna nets, and the effect of this was one person was injured, and they were making £1 million claim because somebody'd injured his leg or something like that. And it's like, oh bloody hell, big deal. They were illegally bluefin tuna fishing, so they shouldn't have been doing it because they didn't have a license. It was out of the season, and basically because they got caught up in this legal thing in the Shetland Islands, the Sea Shepherd had their ship seized from them. So we did the auction. The auction raised £600. They needed money to get the ship out of the dock, and they needed basically £1.5 million. But I think in the end it was, or it was $1.5 million, and in the end they managed to get it out of there for about $800,000 because they managed to convince them that the value of the ship wasn't as high as they thought it was. But anyway, so that money went to the Sea Shepherd charity, and then they sent me an invitation to come up and see them when they were in London. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this, because I've been following them for quite some time, for a few years. And I've been giving them money as well, supporting them that way, and to be asked to come up and see the ship, I was like, oh my fucking God, I can't believe this. So it's like, off we went, and they had an event which was they were moored up on the River Thames next to the HMS Belfast warship, and on the HMS Belfast they had a reception with food, and then certain people could go on to the Sea Shepherd ship and actually have a look around there as well. So I managed to get the signatures of some of the bands that were playing. There was Hawkwind were playing, Adamant was playing, and I'm just trying to think who the others were now. There were some others as well. But anyway, on this side we've got the Circlemakers signatures, although Dave Brock grabbed the board and strangely enough, he knew about me. Apparently, I couldn't believe this. He knew about me as being a Circlemaker. Right, this Dave Brock from Hawkwind, and one of his assistants watches this show. You know, one of the guys who actually puts out the equipment, what do you call them, roadies, yeah? One of his roadies, he says he's a fan and watches the show. I don't think he watches it live, but he watches it on YouTube. So he watches the repeats. And he says, oh, I've seen all your shows, Matt. He said, when you walked in the room, he was like, oh my God, it's Matt Williams. It's like, fucking hell. And I'm like, somebody like Hawkwind's roadie knows me by face, and Dave Brock knew me as well. And it's like, fucking hell. So I got Dave Brock to sign it. I'll show you their photos in a minute. And then we've got somebody else from the band there. I can't quite work out who these are. Who else have we got? Then we've got L Woodstock. That's Lee Woodstock. So this is meant to be the Circlemakers side. So we've got a person called Pete. We don't know who that is. We've got oh God, there's various people from there. Then we've got Captain Paul Watson, who's the ship captain for the Steve Irwin, the flagship vessel of theirs, and he actually started Greenpeace. He was one of the original founders of Greenpeace, and then started doing Sea Shepherd when he thought that the Greenpeace lot were being a little bit too diplomatic and weren't taking direct action, which he believed was very important to intervene. So basically, I did the artwork on this board. I drew up the Sea Shepherd logo myself, and then we've got a signature here from a Circlemaker, and we've got some more Circlemakers. We've got Bill Oddie was there as well, the environmentalist and TV show presenter. You'll be familiar with his stuff, and he was in the Goodies. So Bill Oddie, and he's put little birds, look, so you can see him at the top. So little birds. So Bill Oddie says, I don't believe this exists, which was quite funny. We've got, I think it's Lawrence van der Groot, who's, I think he's one of the second officers on the ship, the Sea Shepherd ship. So there's Laura, who was very nice and looked after me in her room, so I got to see what the actual crew rooms look like in on board the ship. And Laura cooks the food for everybody, so without her, they would starve, and she cooks them nice vegan food, and we had some of it. It was very nice vegan food. And yes, and we've got Debbie Woodstock as well. So there's loads of Circlemakers who signed it, and some famous people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this, and I'm going to give it to whoever wins the auction. I'm going to do it on eBay this time. And the reason I'm going to do it on eBay is because it'll give an opportunity for people who couldn't be there. Maybe they live in foreign countries and they watch this show, and they couldn't attend the Alton Barnes or Woodborough auction that we did last year. So they would have been a little bit gutted because of a lot of diagrams and things like that they couldn't actually get to bid for. So I thought, well, it would be nice for those people who are abroad and watch the show to have a chance. So we'll stick it on eBay. We'll let the whole world bid for it and see what they make of it, and whoever it goes to, we shall post it to them. So here's the creation of the board anyway. I got a metal stencil and basically burnt it in on the wood. As you can see the stencil a little bit closer up, so I burnt a Welsh dragon just because I'm from Wales. And Bill Oddie took the piss out of this. He said, what the fuck's that supposed to be? I said, well, it's a dragon. He goes, nah, it looks like a cloud. And I was like, no, it's a dragon really, isn't it? He goes, no, I can't see it. I don't know what that is. So anyway, I've got another board which I made up, but I wasn't so keen on it because the word Circlemakers was a little bit too dominating, and I thought, well, you know, we need to make something a bit smaller. So that's how I actually made it. I basically took a printout and stuck it on the paper, and then pressed very hard with a pen through the paper into the wood underneath, and it allowed me to get the marks that I needed to start drawing in the lettering, and then very carefully drawing in the lettering all the way along, and you can start to see it forming there. And then what I did is I did the other one, which is the board I've finished up with in the end, and I traced in the Sea Shepherd, as you can see there, with a pen and pushing through onto the wood, and then take the paper away and then draw it in with black pen. And same for the smaller Circlemakers this time, smaller word Circlemakers. Hey, look, it's my leg, my hairy leg. So there we are, and then this is John Curtin, who's a very famous environmentalist and anti-hunt activist, and if you know anything about the sort of animal rights movement in the UK, John is a very famous person, and so he's holding this board as we go off to the Sea Shepherd, because we both visited the Sea Shepherd, a car full of us. I drove up and John came along. So there's me walking with a board through London looking like a right weirdo. What the fuck's he doing with this board? Everyone's thinking. There's Captain Watson coming off the ship, and we actually got him to sign the board, and there is footage on YouTube of him actually stomping with the board, but I don't think I've got access to that now here. I might do if I go and get the YouTube clip, but it'll take too long. Anyway, have a look at it on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. There's Captain Watson actually stomping along with a stomping board, and he asks me, he says, what do you actually do with it? And I said, well, you put it down on the floor, hold the ropes, and then walk forwards. And he didn't really seem to grasp the concept. I think he's been stuck on that ship far too long. He just doesn't know about circle making. No, he's for the animals, not for the circle making. So there's Dave Brock from Hawkwind, and a singer for the band on the right, who I apologise profusely, I cannot remember his name, and he signed the board as well. I can't remember his name, but Dave Brock on the left, he's the oldest member of Hawkwind, having founded the band, and there's Laura from the Sea Shepherd charity, and there's me with the ship in the background and the stomper board, and then the ship is actually sitting behind it in the background. So there you go, just a little bit of interesting stuff. So what I'm going to do, now that I've told you that this board exists, because I needed to have the show back up and online before I did anything with auctioning this, is that I'm going to, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to put this up on eBay, and I'm going to try and promote it as much as I can, that it's coming. It's going to be on eBay, and let everyone know that it's going to be there first, to build up a little bit of time so people can kind of get the word out, and then I'll actually put it on eBay, and then we can all monitor the progress of how it's being bid for, and hopefully get a lot of money for a very good charity. So it's 9:30. We've got about half an hour now, so and there we are. Yeah, Darthy says he saw the Hawkwind video of mine on YouTube, and he said, I was surprised to only see a few people watching them play. I was as well, to be honest, but it was nice in a sense, because there were more people that you could see at the back of the room. Okay, basically it was like that sort of stage fright type thing where people don't want to be at the front, right in front of the band. If the room was absolutely crowded, then people would move up. But because there were a lot of people at the back of the room, the people at the front of the room were quite thin. And I mean, I was actually sitting on the floor for a lot of their thing, actually sort of like tapping my legs, because I didn't want to get up and dance because I'm a bit shy. So yeah, there were quite a few more people there, but like I say, they were at the back end of the room, and there was there was a lot of people there on that boat. But I think people were using the time to chat and find out stuff about the charity and things like that. So different people came and went in and out through the music bit. But yeah, Silver Machine is a classic. My favourite is Orgone Accumulator. That's my favourite Hawkwind track. It's just mad sort of. What did you say? It's I've got an Orgone accumulator, and it makes me feel greater. I'll see you sometime later when I'm through with my accumulator. It's no one. What's it? It's no social isolator. It's a one man. What is it? It's a cerebral vibrator of Orgone. Yeah. Was it something? It'll turn your eyeballs into craters. It's just like the lyrics are absolutely superb. Go and check it out. Orgone Accumulator by Hawkwind. So that's my favourite, but Silver Machine's a pretty good one as well, which I think is sung by Lemmy, wasn't it, at some point? Oops. My power just flipped, and luckily I have a UPS. The power just went doot doot down in the house, and my UPS just kicked in, and we're still online, I think. That's provided the router downstairs hasn't fucked up. Tell me that you are still getting us, because the router might have gone off. Ah, can you still see us? And it's not, the broadcast isn't flashing, so the broadcast should still be there, he says, because the router is downstairs and it's not on the UPS. Please say you could see us. Great, thank you, Dorothy. Oh, bloody hell. When you hear the UPS going tunk tunk and you see the lights tunk tunk, it's like, that's not good, is it? I have to get a UPS for the bloody router now, which is all the way at the other end of the house. So, oh well. Right, what's the final thing then? Okay, so we've done the diagrams revelation. Have we done any other revelations tonight? Well, if we haven't, we should, because this show wouldn't be complete without lots and lots of revelations. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play you a video of something we did. God, it must have been. I think it was 1998. This was. Yeah, it's about 1998. Basically, we were doing a skywatch for Japanese television, and they set up a caravan on top of Adam's grave. Now, Adam's grave is where the white horse is in Alton Barnes, so you're quite familiar with it. You know, it's just that little nipple that's on the top. That's Adam's grave, and then it dips down, and you've got the road, and you've got Knapp Hill. So that's how you know. And in fact, it's quite an interesting landscape, because when you've got a nipple, which is Adam's grave, and then it dips down, and it goes to Knapp Hill. So it's kind of like undulations like that. And as I say, Adam's grave does look like a nipple. And it's funny because there's some people that believe that there's a lady in the landscape there, and her belly is the east field, and her fanny is where the River Kennet is, which used to be called the River Cunt. So a little history thing for you there. I think I've mentioned that before on this show, but yeah, the River Kennet is the River Cunt. And that's true. That's not made up. So basically, on Adam's grave, they were there with the caravan, and it had night vision equipment and various bits and pieces in it, and people were watching with recording equipment and taking down notes of any unusual things throughout the night. Nothing was actually observed that was anomalous, but the Japanese were quite keen to create a little bit of excitement, so they asked us whether or not we would test out their crew, as it were, by creating a balloon. And this is what we did. So we went out and created a little balloon thing, a UFO. And the UFO we created was sent up over Stanton St Bernard, which is between Adam's grave and the Barge Inn pub, basically. And so we created this for the Japanese TV crew, and we set it off, and we were told in hand on heart that they would be telling the audience that were watching the program that this was actually man-made, and that it was just an experiment. So on that basis, we created the best little UFO we could, and we sent it off. And subsequently, the Japanese didn't tell anybody that they knew it was man-made, and it was quite a sensation in Japan, where it made 2 TV specials where they went into what it could be, and sort of debating the sort of the physics of it. And then eventually somebody who was a university professor actually managed to analyze it, and he sort of said, I think these are round objects, and I think there are a number of them surrounding something in the center which is flashing, it's like something, so I think they could be balloons. So they managed to work it out, but oh god, I mean, it took them a few years before they revealed that they thought it might be possibly balloons, and they never revealed that it was fucking balloons. And it's like, well, here we are. I then found out, because we sent this off, it flew up in a direction the wind was taking it, and it went over Woodborough Hill. And Woodborough Hill is at the bottom end of the Eastfield. This is what I'm saying, the belly. So you've got the 2 breasts, and then the Eastfield is the belly. It goes down, and then you've got the trees on the distant hill. That's called Woodborough Hill. So anyway, let's have a look at this UFO that we created for the Japanese.
No faces, right?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
They can always be blanked anyway if we wanted to show you people that go. It's just for us.
So they were slightly larger balloons than you get normally. We had to seek out some slightly larger balloons. And we got the helium from a local gas supplier, and we had to rent the bottle, which was very expensive. I think it was a £70 deposit and then £30 or £40 for the helium, which we didn't get the money for the helium back, even though we used a tiny bit. Now you can see me with long hair. So that's just checking out that it holds together. Now that's this producer, Stephen Yavor, and he was there on the hill in the caravan. So some of you might have seen footage on my YouTube channel, or if you haven't, it's going to be coming soon. So I've got a load of footage like that I'm going to be uploading eventually. And the reason we had to get quite so many balloons is to counteract the weight of the strobe with the battery. You can see the strobe hanging down there. It's basically the same type of strobe you'd get if you have an alarm system in a building for flashing on a corridor or something like that to sort of say the alarm is going off. It's got a little blue plastic cover, see-through cover, that actually gives it a blue strobe light. And I believe it's a standard RS, which is Radio Supply's, a company called RS model strobe. What we did is it's meant to be powered by up to 9 volts, and I doubled the voltage up to 18 volts, and then instead of getting a slow pulse you get a very fast pulse, or a faster pulse. We could have gone even faster, but we thought that worked quite well. So that strobe speed you're seeing there is probably double the strobe speed you'd get if you just had one 9-volt battery. Because we connected these two batteries together, then you got it sort of coming a bit faster. Somebody's saying it needs more volume. There's not much to hear really.